Today, let's talk about word parts. The word puppy has one part. The words review and lovely have two parts. And the word disrespectful has three parts. Some of these parts, like puppy, view, love, and respect, are full, complete words that have meaning all on their own. These parts are what we call base words. Other parts, however, aren't complete words, but rather units of meaning that are attached to base words. These meaning units are referred to as affixes. Affixes add meaning to the base words they're attached to, but aren't complete words on their own. If an affix is attached to the beginning of a word, we call it a prefix. If it's attached to the ending, it's called a suffix. Both prefixes and suffixes are frequently used in written and spoken English, so recognizing and understanding their meaning is an important skill for us to develop. There are well over 50 prefixes that are widely and commonly used in English. But today, we're only going to focus on prefixes that have a negative meaning. These are called negative prefixes. Negative prefixes can deny, cancel, or reverse the original meaning of the base word that they attach to. There are 4 different categories of negative prefixes that we'll go over today. And it's easiest to learn and understand prefixes if we think about the words or phrases that they are replacing in a sentence. So that's how we'll separate them. Let's take a look at our first category of negative prefixes called contradictory prefixes. Un and in are 2 prefixes in this category. When we attach one of these prefixes to a base word, it changes the meaning of the base word to mean the opposite of what it usually means. For example, the word visible becomes invisible to mean not visible. Experienced becomes inexperienced and means not experienced. And accurate becomes inaccurate and means not accurate. Some other examples using the prefix un are known and unknown, popular and unpopular, and healthy and unhealthy. Thinking about which word or phrase a prefix replaces can be a good tool to use to remember what a prefix means. And we can think of un and in as replacements for the word not or the phrase the opposite of. For example, let's take the sentence, John was the opposite of capable at playing the piano, but he practiced hard. I can replace the wordy phrase the opposite of with the prefix in and make John was incapable at playing the piano, but he practiced hard. I can do the same thing with another sentence. She was not happy with the results of the test. Here I'll replace the word not with the prefix un. She was unhappy with the results of the test. Understanding how the prefix affects the structure of a sentence can help us to remember its meaning. Now, before we go to the next category, it's worth pointing out that the prefix in can appear in different forms depending on which letter the base word begins with. For example, if the base word begins with the letter M or the letter P, in becomes im, as in impossible, or impolite, or immature, or immoral. If the base word begins with an R, then in becomes ear, as in irregular, irresponsible, or irresistible. And if the base word begins with the letter L, then in becomes ill, as in illegal, illiterate, or illogical. So remember, in, im, ill, and ear all have the same meaning. The different forms are simply used to make pronunciation easier. Our next category of prefixes is called contrary prefixes and includes the prefixes anti and counter. These prefixes are used to show that someone or something opposes, does not agree with, or goes against what the base word normally means. Let's use the word social to show what I mean. The word social refers to a person who likes to spend time with other people. But when we add the prefix anti, we get antisocial. Antisocial refers to someone who doesn't like being around people. So antisocial refers to someone who is against being social. This is an example of the prefix going against what the base word originally means. Let's look at another word, the word offer. When I make you an offer, I'm proposing something to you, perhaps suggesting a deal. For example, I might say, I will sell you my bike for $30. Now you can either accept that price or say no. If you think the price is too high and offer me $20 instead, that's called a counteroffer. A counteroffer is a new offer that comes after the first one and usually goes against the original offer. You did not agree with the price that I offered, and in this case, your counteroffer of $20 is lower than my original offer of $30. Some other examples include the word racism to anti-racism, meaning being against racism. Virus to antivirus, meaning being against viruses. Attack to counterattack, meaning fighting back against an attack. And argument to counter-argument, which refers to a response that opposes the original argument. Contrary prefixes can be used in place of phrases that contain the word against or oppose. For example, the sentence, John is against socializing and prefers to stay home, can be shortened to John is antisocial and prefers to stay home. Here, the prefix anti is combined with the word social and is used in place of a phrase that includes the word against. Here, against socializing. But they can also be used in place of the specific words against or oppose, along with other words that introduce them. For example, the sentence, she supports the new policies that oppose racism in the workplace, can be shortened to, she supports the new anti-racism policies in the workplace. This time, the prefix anti is combined with the word racism and is used in place of the word oppose. And because oppose is no longer there, the word that, which introduced the word oppose, is also removed. We can combine both of these functions and summarize that contrary prefixes can be used in place of the words against or oppose, other words that introduce the words against or oppose, or phrases that contain the words against or oppose. Before we move on to the other prefixes, let's review what we've learned so far. Here I've prepared a passage with several words that have negative prefixes. We'll read through it together and first try to identify the negative prefixes. Then we'll work on understanding their meanings within the context of the paragraph. Maria had a busy day ahead, and she felt impatient in the morning because she was already late for work. At lunch, her coworkers were antisocial and didn't talk much to her. To make things worse, every time she made a suggestion during the afternoon meeting, her boss gave her a counterexample to show how things could be done better. Maria thought the meeting was unhelpful and a waste of time. She felt that the discussion was counterproductive because it didn't help solve the problems. By the end of the day, she was feeling exhausted and hoped tomorrow would be better. Did you spot the negative prefixes there? Let's consider each sentence separately. Our first sentence includes the word impatient, which has the prefix im, meaning the opposite of. The word impatient means to feel frustrated or upset because things are not happening as quickly as you want. In the paragraph, the word impatient was used because Maria was feeling frustrated that she couldn't get ready and get to work more quickly. The next sentence contains the word antisocial, which has the prefix anti, meaning being against. As we've already covered, this word means not wanting to talk with or be around other people. Here, antisocial describes the actions of Maria's coworkers, who didn't want to talk with her during lunch. The third sentence includes the word counterexample, which has the prefix counter, meaning opposes. A counterexample is an example that shows that an original example or suggestion is either not true or does not always work. In the paragraph, instead of supporting her suggestions, Maria's boss opposed them by providing counterexamples that pointed out that her suggestions were not very good. The following sentence uses the word unhelpful with the prefix un, another prefix that means the opposite of. The word unhelpful refers to something or someone who is not making a situation better or not helping a situation. In the paragraph, the word is used to describe how the afternoon meeting did not effectively help solve the problems they were trying to fix. And our final word that contains a negative prefix is in the next sentence. The word counterproductive also includes the prefix counter, which we remember means opposes or acting against. The word counterproductive refers to someone or something that makes a situation worse instead of helping to improve it. If we're being productive, we're working towards a goal. A productive discussion would have helped Maria's team achieve their goals. But the discussion that the team had was counterproductive, meaning that it did not help them achieve their goals. The next category of prefixes is called privative prefixes. The prefixes non, a, and dis are included in this category of prefix. Privative prefixes are used to show that something is without the quality or feature that the base word normally describes. For example, add the prefix non to the word sense, and we get nonsense, meaning without sense. Some other examples include profit to non-profit, meaning without profit. Sexual to asexual, meaning lacking sexual feelings or desires. Comfort to discomfort, which refers to a lack of comfort. Or interest to disinterest, meaning without interest. One difference to note between these prefixes and the contradictory prefixes we've already looked at is that, unlike in and un, privative prefixes don't mean the opposite of, but rather the complete absence of. For example, we'd use a contradictory prefix to describe the behavior of someone who acts in a way they know is bad. But we use a privative prefix to describe the behavior of someone who has no concern for morality at all and doesn't even think about right or wrong. For example, a thief who chooses to steal can be labeled as immoral, but a child who doesn't understand the difference between right and wrong at all might be described as amoral. Privative prefixes can be used in place of phrases that include the words without, missing, or lacking. For example, the sentence, "She worked without stopping for 5 hours to finish her project," becomes, "She worked non-stop for 5 hours to finish her project." The prefix non is added to the word stop and is used in place of the phrase without stopping. As another example, the sentence, "His face showed a lack of belief when he found out the truth," is shortened to, "His face showed disbelief when he found out the truth." This time the prefix dis is combined with the word belief and is used in place of the phrase a lack of belief. Our final group of prefixes are called reversal prefixes and include the prefixes un, di, and dis. Yes, un and dis are included in 2 different categories and have 2 different meanings. Reversal prefixes are used to refer to undoing, removing, or reversing the action or state of the base word. Undoing means changing something back to the way it was before. The prefix un in the word untie shows this idea. If you take a piece of ribbon, tie it into a knot, and then untie it, you're undoing or canceling the action of tying. Removing means to take something away. The prefix dis in the word disconnect demonstrates this. If you disconnect something, it means you take away the connection. For example, disconnecting a device could mean taking away a cord that's connecting the device to a charger. Finally, reversing means to put something back into its original state. The prefix un in the word unlock has this meaning. For example, when we finish using our phone, we often lock it or put it into a locked state. When we unlock our phone, we are reversing the locked state and returning it to its original unlocked state so we can use it again. Some examples of words that commonly use a reversal prefix include the word unfold, meaning to reverse the action of folding, or to open something up that was previously closed or folded. Unplug, meaning to remove a plug from an electrical socket. Deactivate, meaning to undo activation or to turn something off. Defrost, meaning to reverse the freezing process or to bring something frozen back to its normal temperature. The word disagree, meaning to reverse your agreement, which also means to not agree with someone's opinion or statement. And the word disprove, meaning to reverse the truth about a statement. In other words, to show a statement is not correct or is false. A reversal prefix like dis, on, or d isn't used in place of specific words, but rather phrases that have specific meanings. And the specific meanings relate to undoing, removing, or reversing a state or action. For example, the sentence, Sarah forgot to remove her mask when she came inside becomes, Sarah forgot to unmask when she came inside. Here the prefix un is added to the word mask and is used in place of a phrase that includes the act of removing something. In this case, to remove her mask refers to the act of taking off her mask. As another example, the sentence, my son took the wrapping paper off his gifts on his birthday becomes, my son unwrapped his gifts on his birthday. Here the prefix un is combined with the word wrapped and is used in place of a verb and phrase that relates to the act of undoing something. The phrase took the wrapping paper off of refers to undoing the act of wrapping the gifts. Okay, we're going to finish with a short multiple choice quiz to check our understanding. Question number 1, what does the prefix non mean? Does it mean A, without or lacking, B, not or the opposite of, or C, undoing, removing, or reversing? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. The answer is A, without or lacking. Question number 2, what does the prefix counter mean? A, undoing, reversing, or removing. B, to be against or oppose. Or C, without or lacking. And the answer to number 2 is B. Counter means to be against or oppose the original meaning of the base word. Question 3. Which two prefixes have two different meanings? Is it A, non and D, B, un and A, or C, dis and un? The answer to number 3 is C. Dis can mean without, or it can mean undoing, removing, or reversing. And un can mean not, or undoing, removing, or reversing. Question 4. Which prefix can be added to the word moral to mean being without morals? Is it A, im, B, a, or C, in? The answer to number 4 is B, amoral. Remember, immoral is also a word, but it refers to someone who purposely does bad things. So an immoral person has morals, they just don't follow them and do the opposite. Okay, question number 5. Which prefix can be added to the word polite to mean not polite? Is it A, im, B, non, or C, un? The answer is A, impolite. Remember that when the base word begins with the letter P, like polite does, the prefix in becomes im. Number 6, which prefix can be added to the word legal to mean the opposite of legal? A, anti, B, D, or C, ill? And the answer to number 6 is C, illegal. When the base word begins with an L, the prefix in becomes ill. Okay, for the last 3 questions, we have to determine which word can be used in place of the underlined words or phrase. So number 7, my friend showed a lack of interest in watching the movie I suggested. And the underlined phrase, a lack of interest. So which of the following words can be used in place of that phrase? Is it A, disinterest, B, uninterest, or C, counterinterest? And the answer to number 7 is A, disinterest. The word disinterest here uses the privative meaning of the prefix dis. Question 8. Sentence is, I turned off the notification settings on my phone, and the phrase that we want to replace is turned off. Can we replace it with A, inactivated, B, deactivated, or C, non-activated? Okay, and the answer to number 8 is B, deactivated. Turned off has the meaning of removing activation, so D is used over un or non. And finally, number 9, the sentence, the cause of the problem is not known, and the phrase we want to replace is not known. So can we replace it with A, unknown, B, a known, or C, D known? And the answer to number 9 is A, unknown. Okay, so that's it for today's video. Hopefully it was informative for you and you were able to take something from it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.